Now to a health alert. The FDA is evaluating a recall for potato chips to its highest risk level.
Acrylamide, TBHQ, monosodium glutamate, and synthetic dyes, all hiding in potato chip brands Americans have trusted for decades. But grab the wrong bag and what you're eating is dehydrated potato powder blended with wheat starch, rice flour, and 15 lab-made additives, fried in chemically extracted seed oils. If you've been reaching for the same brand for 10, 20, 30 years, it's all been going into your body. I'm counting down 10 to throw out and 9 that earned your trust, based on FDA recalls, Prop 65 settlements, and ingredient panel analysis. Starting with a bag your grandmother probably kept in the pantry. Number 10. Wise. Wise has been selling chips since 1921, back when Berwick, Pennsylvania was a coal town, and a man named Earl Wise decided potato skins from his grocery store didn't need to go to waste. 100 years later, the brand is owned by Arca Continental, one of the largest Coca-Cola bottlers in Latin America. The family is gone. What stayed are the seed oils, Wise fries in cottonseed oil, corn oil, and soybean oil, depending on the batch. Cottonseed oil is worth understanding because 100 years ago it was classified as industrial waste from cotton production. It requires heavy chemical processing, including solvent extraction and deodorization, before anyone considers it food grade. All three oils Wise uses are high in omega-6 linoleic acid, which in excess drives chronic inflammation. The original Wise chip was likely cooked in lard or tallow. Your grandmother's version was a different product entirely. What's in the bag today shares a name with what Earl Wise made in 1921 and almost nothing else. That was a recipe change made quietly over a century. But changing the oil is not the only way a chip brand drifts from what it used to be. Number 9. Hare's. James Stauffer. Hare bought his first chip kettle in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania in 1946 for a few $100s. Hare's stayed family-owned for 3 generations and still operates out of Nottingham, Pennsylvania. The family name is on the bag. That part sounds promising. The ingredient panel tells a different story. The base chips use vegetable oils including corn oil and cottonseed oil, both industrially refined. But the real problems show up in the flavored lines. Hare's ketchup flavor includes monosodium glutamate, sugar, maltodextrin, artificial flavors, and artificial colors including red 40 and yellow 6. Those are petroleum-derived dyes that the European Union has required warning labels on since 2010. A June 2024 study in the Journal of the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics found those same dyes in nearly 1 in 5 processed foods sold in America. Your grandmother probably bought Hare's from a local truck route in the 60s. That bag had potatoes, oil, and salt. 3 ingredients. The flavored versions today can carry more than 20. So what happens when a brand doesn't just add a few extra ingredients, but invents an entirely new category of snack to avoid calling itself a chip at all? Number 8. Pop Chips. Pop Chips launched in 2007 with a simple pitch. Never fried, never baked, popped with heat and pressure. The marketing suggested a cleaner, lighter chip. The ingredient list tells you what that actually means. Pop Chips are not sliced from a whole potato. They start as dehydrated potato flour, reconstituted and shaped, then seasoned and puffed. The base ingredients include potato flour, potato starch, sunflower oil, safflower oil, rice flour, and dextrin. The flavored varieties add maltodextrin, sugar, autolyzed yeast extract, and citric acid. The word natural does real work on the Pop Chips bag, but the FDA has never formally defined that word on food labels. There is no federal standard the phrase must meet. The chip itself is a processed starch product cooked in omega-6 seed oils, dressed up with clean-sounding language. A whole potato sliced and fried in tallow would be a simpler product than what Pop Chips actually sells. They solved a problem no one had by engineering a more processed chip and calling it healthier. If this investigation is helping you rethink what's in your kitchen, hit like so more people see it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Number 7. Terra. Terra chips have been on shelves since 1990, when the brand started mixing exotic root vegetables into kettle-cooked chips and charging a premium for the word artisan on the bag. Terra is now owned by the Hain Celestial Group, a multi-billion-dollar portfolio company based in New York. Pick up a bag of Terra Original and the ingredient list starts strong. Sweet potatoes, taro, yuca, batata, parsnip. Then you reach the oil, canola and safflower oil. Both are omega-6 seed oils extracted through chemical processing. The sodium content runs high too, with some varieties topping 200 milligrams per 1 ounce serving. The bigger issue is perception. Terra charges 2 to 3 times what a standard bag costs, and the vegetable medley on the front of the bag creates the impression of a health food. It is a fried chip cooked in the same industrial oils as the dollar bags on the bottom shelf. The vegetables are real. The oil is the same one your doctor has been telling you to cut back on. That price premium buys a nicer bag, not a meaningfully different product. Charging a premium for appearance is one thing. Paying to settle a fraud lawsuit is another. Number 6. Oots. Oots has roots going back to 1921, when Bill and Sally Oots started making chips in their Hanover, Pennsylvania kitchen. For decades, the brand marketed itself as all-natural. That claim ended in a courtroom. In 2014, a class action was filed in Massachusetts federal court, alleging that Oots products labeled all-natural contained ingredients that were chemically derived, heavily processed, and made from genetically modified organisms. Without admitting wrongdoing, Oots settled in 2016 for $1.25 million and agreed to stop using the word natural on its packaging. The base Oots original chip has a short ingredient list: potatoes, oil, and salt. But the oils are corn oil, sunflower oil, or cottonseed oil, all industrially refined. And the flavored lines reintroduce everything the settlement said Oots should have disclosed, including maltodextrin, citric acid, and artificial flavors in certain varieties. A brand that earned trust by looking local lost a federal case proving its labels were misleading. The fine was a rounding error on Oats's annual revenue. The labeling practices changed. The oils did not. $1 million settlement sounds like accountability. But the brand at number 5 used a different loophole, one the FDA built into the nutrition label itself. Number 5. Ruffles. Ruffles has been a Frito-Lay brand since PepsiCo acquired it in the 1960s. The original bag lists 3 ingredients: potatoes, vegetable oil, and salt. Sounds clean. It is not. The vegetable oil is a rotating blend of sunflower, corn, and canola oils, all industrially refined seed oils. The deeper concern is trans fat. The FDA allows any food with less than half a gram of trans fat per serving to round down to 0 on the nutrition label. A 2014 CDC study found that roughly half of all potato chip products still contain trans fats despite labels reading 0 grams. Refined seed oils generate small amounts of trans fat during high-temperature processing, and the FDA's rounding rule makes that invisible. If you eat 2 or 3 servings in a sitting, and you probably do, you could exceed the American Heart Association's daily trans fat limit without a single gram appearing on the label. The flavored Ruffles lines pile MSG, artificial flavors, and maltodextrin on top of the oil issue. The plain bag looks honest. The label math tells a different story. Number 4. Cape Cod. Cape Cod was founded in 1980 in Hyannis, Massachusetts, and for years it carried the reputation of a small-batch, honest New England chip. The brand was acquired by Snyder's-Lance in 2007, then again by the Campbell's Company in 2018. In October 2024, a class action was filed against Campbell's in Brooklyn federal court alleging that Cape Cod chips were falsely labeled as containing no artificial colors, flavors, or preservatives. The lawsuit centers on citric acid. The complaint argues that commercially produced citric acid is not derived from citrus fruit. It is manufactured synthetically using industrial fermentation of Aspergillus niger mold treated with chemical solvents. A similar lawsuit was filed earlier that same year. Campbell's has declined to comment on the pending litigation. Meanwhile, the bags still say no artificial on the front. Cape Cod's ingredient panel is shorter than most, but the legal question is whether the ingredients on that panel match what the front of the bag promises. That question is now sitting in federal court. That story lives in New England. But the brand that made the same natural promise from the Pacific Northwest has an even longer trail of courtroom records. Number 3. Kettle Brand. Kettle Brand launched in Salem, Oregon in 1982 and built its following on one word: natural. The company plastered all natural, no preservatives, and made with natural ingredients across its packaging for years. It was sued for it more than once. A 2018 class action filed in New York alleged kettle chips contained synthetic citric acid and synthetic maltodextrin, making the all-natural and preservative-free claims false. An earlier class action resulted in a settlement covering purchases from 2010 to 2015. Then in 2022, another lawsuit alleged Kettle's air-fried chips were deceptive because the product is deep-fried in oil first and then air-finished. A 2025 Ninth Circuit ruling dismissed that case, but the dissent argued the front label still misled a reasonable consumer. On top of the labeling lawsuits, California's Attorney General required Kettle to reduce acrylamide levels in its chips by 87%, as part of a 2008 Prop 65 settlement, 87%. That number tells you where the levels started. Kettle got caught because the front of the bag said one thing and the ingredient panel said another. Number two's problem was different. It wasn't what was printed on the label, it was what was never printed at all. Number 2. Lay's. Lay's is the best-selling potato chip on Earth, distributed in over 200 countries under PepsiCo's Frito-Lay division. The original variety lists 3 ingredients: potatoes, vegetable oil, and salt. In January 2025, the FDA elevated a Lay's recall to Class 1, the agency's most severe designation, meaning the product posed a reasonable probability of serious adverse health consequences or death. Over 6,000 bags of Lay's Classics sold in Oregon and Washington contained undeclared milk, a fact discovered only after a consumer reported it. Separate from the recall, Lay's flavored lines have used TBHQ, a petroleum-derived preservative the FDA first approved in 1972. The Environmental Working Group lists TBHQ among its dirty dozen food chemicals to avoid. TBHQ has been restricted in parts of Europe and Japan. PepsiCo announced in October 2025 that Lay's would remove all artificial flavors and colors from its core products. That announcement came roughly 50 years after TBHQ first entered the ingredient panel. If you ate a bag of Lay's barbecue every week from 1980 to 2025, that is 45 years of a preservative the company itself eventually decided to phase out. That was a brand that took half a century to remove one additive. Number 1 never removed anything, because number 1 was never really a potato chip to begin with. Number 1. Pringles. Pringles launched in 1968, and for most of that time the product has contained roughly 42% actual potato. The rest is a slurry of wheat starch, rice flour, corn flour, maltodextrin, and vegetable oils, including corn oil, cottonseed oil, and soybean oil. The original flavor alone lists at least 12 ingredients. Many varieties add monosodium glutamate, artificial flavors, and multiple coloring agents. In 2008, a UK tax tribunal ruled that Pringles were not potato chips. The company itself had argued this point to avoid a value-added tax on potato-based products, and the tribunal agreed, noting the product's content and manufacturing bore little resemblance to a traditional potato crisp. A subsequent appeal reversed the tax ruling on procedural grounds, but the underlying fact remains. Pringles are a processed starch product, molded into a uniform saddle shape by pressing dough onto a conveyor mold and passing it through boiling oil. Your grandmother's potato chip was a potato, sliced and fried. Pringles is a formula engineered in a laboratory to look like one. Fewer than half the calories in the product come from anything that was ever a potato. Those were the 10. Now for the 9 brands that did what the others didn't. Kept the ingredient list short, kept the oils clean, and let the potato speak for itself. Number 9. Good Health. Good Health is technically owned by Oots, the same company that lost the all-natural class action. But the avocado oil kettle style line is a separate product with a separate formula, and the ingredient list proves it. Potatoes, avocado oil, sea salt. 3 ingredients. Avocado oil matters because it is pressed from the fruit of the avocado, not chemically extracted with hexane solvents the way canola, corn, and cottonseed oils typically are. It has a high smoke point, meaning it remains stable at frying temperatures rather than breaking down into harmful byproducts. Good Health avocado oil chips contain no artificial additives, no MSG, no TBHQ, and no seed oils. The one thing to know is that this specific line is the clean one. Other Good Health products may use different oils and formulations, so reading the bag matters. When Oots' corporate arm lost a federal lawsuit over the word natural, this sub-brand quietly became the most honest thing in the company's portfolio. 3 ingredients, nothing hidden. That was a clean product buried inside a corporate portfolio. Not every clean brand has that kind of baggage. Some were built clean from their first batch. Number 8. Lesser Evil. Lesser Evil built its identity on 2 commitments: organic and simple. Their organic potato chips use organic potatoes cooked in organic coconut oil seasoned with sea salt. 3 ingredients, all certified organic by the USDA. Organic certification means the potatoes were grown without synthetic pesticides or herbicides and are non-GMO, and the coconut oil was processed without chemical solvents. Coconut oil is a saturated fat, which keeps it chemically stable at high frying temperatures and reduces the formation of harmful compounds compared to polyunsaturated seed oils. Lesser Evil also avoids the labeling games that sent Kettlebrand and Oots to court. No natural claims that need a legal team to defend, and no air-fried language that collapses under scrutiny. The ingredient list says what the product is, and the organic certification backs it up. You can find Lesser Evil in Whole Foods and a growing number of mainstream grocery stores across the country. The price per bag runs higher than Lay's, but what you are paying for is printed on the label, not buried in a court filing. So what does it look like when a company builds that same transparency into every product from day one, and does it from a farming community in British Columbia? Number 7. Hardbite. Hardbite started in Surrey, British Columbia, where the founders set out to handcraft an all-natural chip using the highest quality potatoes they could find from local farms. The company was buying non-GMO ingredients before non-GMO became a shelf sticker. Their avocado oil line keeps the ingredient list to 3 items: potatoes, avocado oil, and seasoning. No artificial flavors, no preservatives, no seed oils. The original Hardbite line does use sunflower oil, which is a seed oil, so the avocado oil varieties are the ones to look for specifically. What sets Hardbite apart is how it handled growth. As the brand expanded into wider distribution across Canada and into the United States, the ingredient panels stayed short. There was no quiet swap from avocado oil to a cheaper industrial blend. No introduction of maltodextrin to stretch the seasoning. No natural flavor catch-all added to the label. The company sourced better potatoes from farms it could name and cooked them in an oil that doesn't require chemical extraction. That is a harder business model to run. It is also a cleaner chip to eat. Sourcing good potatoes and a clean oil is the floor. One Colorado brand built its entire identity around that idea and has been proving it for 30 years. Number 6. Boulder Canyon. Boulder Canyon was founded in 1994 by brothers John and Mark Maggio in Boulder, Colorado. Their avocado oil sea salt chips list 3 ingredients: potatoes, avocado oil, and sea salt. No preservatives, no artificial colors, no MSG, no seed oils. The company uses American-grown potatoes kettle-cooked in small batches with cold-pressed avocado oil, which preserves the fatty acid profile and avoids the hexane residue that can remain in industrially refined oils. Boulder Canyon has more recently launched a beef tallow line, cooking chips in rendered beef fat the way they were made before the seed oil industry took over in the 1950s. That product also lists 3 ingredients. The brand was acquired by Oots Quality Foods in 2017, but the avocado oil and tallow lines have maintained their clean formulations through the ownership change. 30 years of keeping an ingredient list to 3 items through a corporate acquisition is a track record most chip brands in this investigation cannot match. When a company could quietly swap in a cheaper oil after a buyout, and no one would notice, and it chooses not to, that tells you something about the product. 30 years of transparency is one kind of proof. But some brands were built from something far more personal than a business plan. Number 5. Siete. Siete was born in 2014 because the Garza family in Austin, Texas needed to rethink their entire kitchen. Veronica Garza had been diagnosed with multiple autoimmune conditions, and the family shifted to a grain-free diet to manage her symptoms. That meant finding snacks the whole family could eat together, especially the Mexican-American recipes they grew up on. Nothing on the shelves worked, so they made their own. Siete's potato chips list 3 ingredients: potatoes, avocado oil, and sea salt. Their tortilla chips are grain-free, using cassava flour and avocado oil. No seed oils, no artificial colors or flavors, no MSG. Every product is non-GMO and gluten-free. PepsiCo acquired Siete in late 2024 for over $1 billion, which raised concern among clean food advocates about whether the formulas would change. As of this investigation, the ingredient panels remain the same. Whether PepsiCo keeps them that way is a question worth watching, but the products right now are still clean. A family that could not find an honest chip at the grocery store built one from their kitchen table. That chip is now valued at more than $1 billion. That story started in a Texas kitchen. But the cleanest ingredient sourcing in this investigation comes from somewhere you would not expect. Number 4. Rosie's Chips. Rosie's is a small batch operation rooted in central Pennsylvania, a region that has been making potato chips since the early 1900s. The ingredient list reads: pesticide-free naturally grown potatoes, grass-fed and grass-finished beef tallow, and Vera microplastic-free sea salt. 3 ingredients. Every one of them chosen with a level of specificity you will not find on a bag of Lay's or Ruffles. The potatoes are pesticide-free. The tallow comes from cattle that were grass-fed and grass-finished, not grain-finished in a feedlot. The sea salt is independently certified free of microplastics, which a growing body of peer-reviewed research has found in conventional table salt and sea salt. Rosie's Kettle cooks every batch fresh and orders ship direct. You will not find this brand in a grocery aisle. You order online and you pay more than you would for a bag of Lay's. But what you get is a chip made the way chips were made before the food industry decided cottonseed oil was good enough and nobody would check. Rosie's did not invent anything. They just refused to accept the shortcuts. Number 3. Kettle brand avocado oil. Yes, the same company that settled class actions over the word natural does make one line that tells the truth. Kettle brand avocado oil. Potato chips list 3 ingredients: potatoes, avocado oil, and sea salt. No maltodextrine, no synthetic citric acid, and no natural flavors, hiding behind a term the FDA has never defined. The avocado oil subline exists because Kettle brand, after years of legal pressure, apparently decided to build at least one product that could survive scrutiny. It is the one Kettle product where the front of the bag and the back of the bag say the same thing. That matters because it shows you what the company is capable of when it chooses transparency. 3 ingredients: honest labeling, clean oil. They could have made every product this way. They chose not to. The main Kettle line still uses the seed oils and additives that generated the lawsuits in the first place. If you buy Kettle brand, read the bag. The avocado oil variety is a different product than the one that ended up in court. Same company, completely different chip. You may have noticed a pattern by now. 3 ingredients. The family behind number 2 took that idea further than anyone. Number 2. Mark's chips. Mark's Kettle. Cooked potato chips keep things as simple as a chip can get. Potatoes, avocado oil, sea salt. No seed oils, no artificial flavors, no preservatives, no fillers, no maltodextrin, no citric acid. The chips are gluten-free and non-GMO. Mark's entered a market already crowded with brands claiming to be healthier, but rather than leaning on marketing language, the brand built its case on the ingredient panel itself. When the total list of ingredients fits on one line and every item is something your grandmother would recognize, the bag does not need the word natural printed across the front. That is the difference between a chip that needs a slogan and a chip that doesn't. Mark's is available online and in a growing number of retail locations across the country. It costs more per ounce than the mass market brands, but the math is straightforward. You are paying for avocado oil instead of chemically extracted canola, and for potatoes that were sliced whole instead of reconstituted from a powder. There is nothing revolutionary about this chip. That is the point. And that brings us to number 1. The brand that started not in a boardroom or a marketing meeting, but because a family needed to feed their son. Number 1. Jackson's. Jackson's exists because Scott and Megan Reamer's son was diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disorder. After trying different approaches, the family found that a high-fat, low-carb diet centered on ancestral fats like coconut oil dramatically improved Jackson's health and quality of life. The whole family adopted the diet, but they missed having snacks. So they started slicing sweet potatoes thin and cooking them low and slow in coconut oil on their stovetop. The result was too good to keep in the family kitchen. Jackson's appeared on Shark Tank, and the company has since expanded into avocado oil varieties and regular potato chips. The sea salt sweet potato chips list 3 ingredients: sweet potatoes, avocado oil, sea salt. Jackson's manufactures everything in a dedicated facility in Muskego, Wisconsin, certified free of the top 9 allergens, including milk, eggs, wheat, peanuts, soy, tree nuts, fish, shellfish, and sesame. Every chip is kettle-cooked and non-GMO. No artificial anything, no seed oils, no filler starches. This is not a brand built by a marketing team chasing a health trend. It was built by parents who needed to feed their child something safe and realized every other bag on the shelf had failed that test. Jackson's answered it with 3 ingredients and nothing else. Pringles started with 12 ingredients and a formula that is less than half potato. Jackson's started with 3. But any brand on this list can reformulate by next quarter, quietly, and you would never know. The label report catches what changes. Every month, we recheck every verdict and flag recalls before you buy again. Scan the code on screen or use the first link below. $10 a month, cancel anytime. Go annual and 5 months are free. Just want the method? Both guides, $15 one time. Same link.